Women in orthopedics, three cultural perspectives. Women make up more than half of the medical school graduates, yet less than 15% are in orthopedic training. Why? Is orthopedics hostile towards our female colleagues? Is the profession doing enough to change attitudes? Do female orthopedists in developing countries have easier career opportunities than their Western counterparts? Orthopedics needs gender diversity to better address some of its pressing challenges and to match the scientific progress predicted for the 21st century. We need to address a number of issues in order to attract the best candidates, including females. Join us to find the answers. And this is the point. This session is about that. We want to have an international panel and we want to have a deep discussion on what we believe are some of the more critical issues in our field. Let me first introduce our keynote. Dr. Sultan Al-Muskari, a respected colleague and a friend who is a senior consultant orthopedic surgeon, head of orthopedics in Oman. He's also the immediate past president of the Orthopaedic Society of the Oman Orthopedic Society in Muscat, Oman. Sultan, thank you so much and welcome.
Thank you very much, Professor Bandari, Mohit. I would like to take this opportunity to thank you very much for organizing this whirlwind tour. It's quite a feat, 24 events in 4 days. I congratulate you on such a project. And I would like to thank the organizer and Ortho Evidence as well, the rest of the team, for giving us this opportunity to discuss this very important topic, as you mentioned. And in the outset, I would like to also thank my colleagues who have given me the honor of coming up on stage with me, on the virtual stage. Dr. Wafa Al-Baluki, who is my colleague at Sultan Qaboos University in Oman, and Dr. Elena Samaila from Verona University in Italy, and Dr. Linda Chikoto from University of Malawi. And we thought that having this diversity will shed more depth and more qualitative analysis of the issues, both attractive and distractive for female brilliant medical graduates from joining orthopedic surgery. Quite a number of articles have been published on this topic. Most of them are surveys and looking at data and numbers from societies and so on. But we thought that adding such a dimension to it would hopefully, with a respected group of colleagues in the panel and in the audience, to discuss the real issues that are at play, why the statistics as they are at the moment. Before I go into the full presentation, I would like to just mention here that I will be speaking, and for the sake of time, we tried to keep our presentations as short as possible so that we allow as much interaction as possible. May I have the next slide, please? I think before we address the statistics and the numbers, we should ask ourselves of why do we need gender balance or gender diversity? And I think the first answer to that is simple justice, fairness. Everybody deserves an equal chance, and women represent half of the society and more than half of the medical graduates, so why there are so few in orthopedics. And they deserve, and the orthopedic community needs to address that question, simply from a justice point of view. From a professional selfish point of view, as in the professions point of view, I think attracting the best candidates rather than just the gender that fits our particular group is important for the advancement and diversity of ideas and research. And we all know that the direction of medical research and basic science research in the last 20 or 30 years has taken a different direction, and that will definitely impact orthopedic surgery from going down the biomechanics and mechanical aspects into the biologics and cell biology and basic sciences. And when we look into these fields in any regenerative medicine meeting, you find that these areas are heavily dominated by women. And I think that that direction is important to address. Otherwise, we will be left behind as an orthopedic community and profession. Our institutions need this diversity to better allocate resources for where they are needed most, and better organize our services and address any hidden issues that may impact our colleagues, whether females and others, and also our patients' deserved needs. So having that gender balance is important from that point of view. And above all, of course, our institutions and our profession operates within a community, and we serve patients. And those patients have the right to choose the physicians that they feel most comfortable with and most they can trust most to deliver their care. Healthcare awareness and prevention programs need that gender balance and diversity. Next slide, please. Now, what is the current reality? And now here I've taken a case example, my own country, Oman, now which has a population of 4.5 million. That's not only women, that's the total population, by the way. We have 2 medical schools which produce each year about 230 medical graduates. The main one, Sultan Qaboos University, 70% or more of its medical graduates every year are women. The National University of Science and Technology, actually more than 85% of its graduates are women. Yet, on the pie chart on the right-hand side, you can see that we only have 3 female orthopedic residents in our program. That's 15%. And only less than 3% of our practicing orthopedic surgeons are female. And we don't have any females in leadership positions or heads of divisions, etc. But hopefully that will come. So we really need to address this issue in a timely manner. Next slide, please. Now, is this because there is discrimination? I don't think so. The statistics speak for themselves. The entry exams and the distribution of residents in the Oman Medical Specialization Board has 546 residents in training at the moment for all medical specialties. 70% of them are women. So there is no issue of discrimination or bias there. And unfortunately, less than 1% of all female trainees are in orthopedics. We need to address that issue again. Next slide, please. And this is a graph representing all the training programs, because usually people throw in the assumption that, oh, orthopedics is antisocial, or it's very physical, it's a lifestyle issue. I have highlighted here with the red arrows programs that have antisocial hours, like anesthesia and general surgery, pediatrics, internal medicine. These are all very busy specialties. Physical specialties, I think general surgery and some of the other surgical specialties have just as demanding long hours, and they require stamina, physical stamina. And yet, most of the programs in this graph are dominated by women. The only one program that is heavily dominated by men is orthopedics, and a much smaller program, oral maxillofacial surgery. The issue of lifestyle, of course, weighs in heavily in career choice, and that, of course, is reflected in specialties such as dermatology and so on. But most of the other specialties that have very heavy hours and physical activity, they still have preponderance of women. In Oman, of course, obstetrics and gynecology, most of them are, almost all of them are women. Next slide, please. So why do we have such a low percentage of women in orthopedics? And this is actually across the board, whether you're in Oman, in Africa, in Western Europe or North America, it seems to be the trend. However, some countries have made some headways, albeit slow. And a number of articles have been published in this topic, and some of the references I've listed there on the slide at the bottom. Orthopedics is invisible to undergraduate students, and that's when a lot of people make their decisions. And this invisibility varies from one medical school to another. It's quantitative, but I think more of it is qualitative, as some studies have shown that actually having more musculoskeletal exposure does not automatically translate into massive decision into undertaking orthopedics. Role models and mentors, especially if there are women, these probably, especially if they are friendly and highly successful, will, please go back with the slide, will influence young females who are thinking about their career choices. But I think a major impact is the negative labels that we have accepted for our profession and attitudes, where that orthopedics is labeled as a male-only field. And from the general medical community at large, and also from orthopedists themselves, some of them, they have this unfortunate negative attitude which repels our female colleagues. And the community at large in certain areas or certain countries or cultures, they seem to only view women as lesser physically able or mentally able people. Orthopedics may have hostile environment in some in some reports towards our female colleagues, personalities, also the large exposure to radiation and physical hours or standing. All of us, when we decide about a career choice, we have to balance family and commitments, and in this case, of course, maternal commitments. They have to be made sure that they are in balance with the work life. However, this applies to almost all the specialties. What is provided in our training programs needs to be addressed in terms, or needs to be, to ensure that our female colleagues are assured that they can have some time for their commitments, family commitments. Next slide, please. Now, further downstream, in some countries, pay gap weighs in heavily in this decision, and what my friend Laurie Hemstra has called the glass ceiling in orthopedics, where people, females find it difficult to progress up the career ladder. And this, of course, when young contenders and medical students, and when they see this, this will definitely weigh in heavily in their decision making. However, as we'll see, we can see in some of the countries, the number of females climbing the orthopedic ladder is increasing. So it has to be from the bottom up. And this actually is the same in other surgical specialties which have managed to attract more females before us. Next slide, please. So bringing in or attracting more females to orthopedics will have consequences. In my opinion, I think those consequences are going to be mainly positive. And I like Warren Buffett's advice that one should surround oneself with the best. So if we are going to improve further as a specialty, we need to choose the best candidates. And we are, I think, neglecting a large percentage of the best female candidates, or repelling them from our specialty. There will definitely have to be some compromises and adjustments made to accommodate that. And however, overall, I think this will impact the future trends of our profession. And that, I think, overall will be positive. So next slide, please. So next, I would like at this point to invite our first colleague, female orthopedic surgeon taking part in this activity, and that is Dr. Linda Chikoto from the University of Malawi. So Linda, please.
Thank you. May I have the next slide, please? So that's the situation in Malawi. There are 14 orthopedic surgeons, a fifth of whom are females, and the proportion is the same even among trainees who are currently doing orthopedics. And the population of Malawi is 17.5 million. Next slide, please. So why did I choose to do orthopedics? it was really the satisfaction that comes with turning disability to ability. I graduated at a time when there was a lot of HIV in the country, but then we had no antiretroviral drugs to manage the disease. And really it felt depressing working on the medical wards. But when I went to orthopedics, I was quite fulfilled with the outcome of the treatment, because you could see the outcome pretty much there and then. Next slide, please. But why don't most female colleagues, why don't they want to do orthopedics? Even in my class, there were 10 of us. I was the only one who did orthopedics. And in our country, it remained like that until 10 years later, after I graduated as a specialist, when a female colleague graduated as a specialist. Well, there are several reasons that I have heard from colleagues and friends. And the first one really is the Superman mentality, which is there, that in order to do orthopedics, you have to be very energetic and athletic. And quite linked to that in our setting is then the lack of mentors who can then dispel such myths. And then there are problems that the orthopedic career seems to conflict a lot with the family or gender roles that females have in the society. And therefore many females don't want to go and do orthopedics. Next slide, please. Then in our setting, we've got a huge infectious disease burden, which has been there for a long time. And so there are well-established programs, and there has been a lot of investment financially. And so colleagues feel that they can get more quicker if they pursue that career rather than orthopedics. But also in our setting, most people feel that the grass is greener on the other specialties like gynecology and pediatrics compared to orthopedics. Next slide, please. Now, during my training, as well as during after I qualified as an orthopedic surgeon, I've had several experiences. And one of the experiences that I had, especially during in training, is the little support that I got from colleagues. I was the first female orthopedic surgeon, and I was the only female in training at that time. And there was the support that I got from my male colleagues was really little, and that really made life hard sometimes. And also, even up to now, I still get negative remarks where we are living in a society where people feel that maybe because you're a female, then you don't do other things well compared to a man. And so if only you were a man, you would do this and this. Those are the comments that are always there, and that can be quite discouraging. And then in our setting, all females are nurses. Doctors are only male. That's also quite common in our setting. Next slide, please. But then there's something that we have to do in order to attract more female colleagues to join orthopedics. And I think one of the target population that we should target are female medical students. In our setting, we have our medical students only rotate through orthopedics for 1 week, and that's not enough. We need more open days where we can discuss orthopedics and dispel any myths, and that will help more females to pursue the orthopedic career. And also we need mentors who can mentor orthopedic female medical students to pursue the orthopedic career. Next slide, please. But we also need to have a female-friendly working environment. I think especially in my setting, that is quite important, where we need to appreciate that there are different roles between males and females, and therefore creating an environment which is quite flexible to allow females to fulfill their roles in the community, their family roles, is going to help a lot of females to pursue an orthopedic career compared to the current situation. But then we also need the infrastructure to be supportive. When I trained, we had only the manual instruments. There were no power instruments when I trained, and that was quite hard. Things have changed now, there are more power instruments, and so we need that support so that we get more females to join orthopedics, and then we'll have a balance between the male and female colleagues in orthopedics. Next slide, please. Next slide. So I'll just end by showing figures that are in for the College of Surgeons for East Central and Southern Africa. That's COSEXA. It's a college that trains surgeons. And out of all the surgeons, the orthopedic surgeons that have been trained with COSEXA, only 8% are females. And currently, out of all the trainees that are training to become orthopedic surgeons, only 10% are females. So the trend in the region really is, COSEXA has 14 countries. It trains orthopedic surgeons from 14 countries. So the trend really in all these countries in the region is the same. We need more female orthopedic surgeons. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Linda. Can we move to the next slide, please? Next, I would like to present my own colleague, Dr. Wafa Al-Baluki, who had the pleasure to recruit in our department as our first female orthopedic surgeon, and she trained the first few years with us in Oman, and then she did her full residency program in McGill University, Montreal in Canada, and did a fellowship in pediatric orthopedics in Montreal, and then a fellowship in ankle and foot surgery in British Columbia. Since then, she has returned just under a year ago, and her positive contributions are already there to be seen all around in our department. So it gives me a great pleasure to present Wafa. Wafa, please present your story. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Sultan, for the nice introduction. So as you heard, among the presenters today, I have the shortest experience in orthopedics. And so I thought to talk about how did I make the decision to join this specialty. Next, please. Next slide. You can move to the next slide, Abby. Thank you. No, go back. All right. So then when I thought about it, it came up to 4 main points that make me choose orthopedics. First is exposure to orthopedics. I did my medical school here in Sultan Qaboos University in Muscat. And so we spent 4 weeks of clinical rotation in orthopedics. And I think that helped me a lot to change my perception and the view of this specialty. It was fascinating to see all the variety of the pathology treated in orthopedics. It was really inspiring to see the effect of the surgical intervention on improving patient quality of life, and that definitely changed my view to this specialty. The second reason I chose orthopedics was having mentors. So at that point in time, I'm speaking about 2008, 2009, there was no female orthopedic surgeon in Oman. However, I was lucky and blessed to have a few of the orthopedic surgeons as mentors. They were very welcoming to the idea of having female surgeons working in their service. They did not spare a moment to provide me with all the support, the guidance, answer my questions, and they gave me the view from like an insider into this specialty. And so through this interaction, I was able to see that the lifestyle of an orthopedic surgeon is not as difficult or awful that most medical students appreciate. And through this interaction, I was able also to see and know that there are successful women, although few of them, but they are successful in their career and they are satisfied with their achievement in orthopedics. So then I made the decision to join orthopedic specialty. Next, please. At that point in time, I was set to join McGill University orthopedic program to pursue my training. And so I was thinking the situation in McGill will definitely be better than what is in Oman. It was better, but again, it was not, it was still behind compared to the other surgical specialty across the world. So here I'm presenting some statistics of the number of female trainees that have been to the orthopedic residency program at McGill in the last 10 years. And so the average percentage was always around 15%. But what was more important to me is, in fact, to have and to see that there are female orthopedic surgeons as a faculty in this department that provided me with a lot of support and get me through the training. And what was even more inspiring is to have a female orthopedic surgeon as a chief of surgery. That was a true inspiration. Next, please. So then I finished the training and I joined the department in Oman about 9 months ago. It's a really short period of experience, but it has been very positive so far. So from a patient perspective, considering my society here in Oman, female patient will prefer and always prefer to be seen and treated by a female surgeon for many reasons, cultural reasons, religious beliefs, and sometimes they think they are better understood by a female surgeon. From my colleagues' point of view, I have been blessed to have such colleagues. So the orthopedic surgeon I work with at the department at the SQU, as well as the other colleagues in the regional hospital, has been very welcoming so far and very supportive. And then they will always call and check on me and make sure things are going very well. For medical students, when they come for their clinical rotation in my hospital, I think they really find it very interesting and very inspirational for them to have a female surgeon on the field. They will always have plenty of questions to ask. And I think it's here when I play a role to promote for my specialty. Next, please. So as of the challenges I faced so far, again, I'm talking about very short experience, but I think the biggest challenge I had so far is to make that decision to join orthopedic training program or orthopedic specialty. And so as much as I had people encouraging me on my decision, there were other people who questioned my decision, who wanted me to change, who questioned my ability to perform this. And there were other friends or like my medical student friends who had this negative view and attitude toward orthopedics and wanted me to change my opinion. During training, I didn't have really a major bad experience that I can remember, but again, I had the training in what I would like to describe as well-established residency program. They already had the experience of training female orthopedic trainee and produces a female orthopedic surgeon, and I can tell that there are effort. You can see effort to make the training very female friendly. So that was very positive experience in my practice so far, which is less than 1 year. Everything has been working well with all the support I get from my colleagues. Next, please. So how can we change this? I think from personal experience and from what I can gather from other speakers as well, the main things is to have a role model. To have a female role model will definitely help medical students to make that major decision in their life. And it's not just having female role model, but sometimes I think even having a male surgeon as a mentor for medical student, a male surgeon who is welcoming to this idea and open to having a female surgeon as a colleague will probably help medical students to make this major decision in their life. Early exposure to orthopedics in medical school will help people to understand the specialty way better. And for us in orthopedics, as Orthopedic Society, we have to do some changes. We have to make this environment very welcoming to the women. We have to try and accommodate for what is like a special requirement for a woman surgeon to attract more people. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Wafa. Now I would like to introduce our next speaker, who is Dr. Elena Samalia, who works in the beautiful city of Verona. And I had the good luck of doing a mini fellowship there with Professor Roberto Aldegheri many years ago. But I still maintain many friends in Verona, including her boss, Professor Bruno Magnan, and Dr. Franco Lavini. Elena specializes in foot and ankle surgery, and she is the vice president of the Italian Foot and Ankle Society, and the next president, hopefully. She has been in full practice since 2007 in Verona. Elena, thank you.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share with you my experience as an Italian woman orthopedic surgeon. Next, please. So in Italy, among all specialties, orthopedic surgery has the lowest percentage of female residents and practicing surgeons. Next. Why I choose orthopedics? Because my first experience, it was in the very first year of medical school in hand surgery. I entered a great and funny team, and I saw hundreds of different diseases. And for me, it was every day as a new day, because I thought that these are not boring surgery that requires little hands and precision. And I saw that orthopedics and surgeon were happy and very satisfied. Next, please. For me, it was amore a prima vista, love at first sight. So why not orthopedics? This is a point of view of others that follow stereotypes. So colleagues told me that I have to be big, go to gym, and behave as a man. And because orthopedic has hard schedule surgery, and probably I could feel inadequate for daily work. Next, please. There is for sure cultural perspective, because in the outpatient clinics, if you are a resident and male, you are a surgeon, but if you are a woman, you'll be called nurse. And patients want to be treated by a doctor with white hair, not by a young and beautiful woman. So bella is equal stupida, beautiful is like silly. And Italian is fashion. So one day one patient asked to my chief that orthopedic woman should wear high heel because it could improve mood of the patients. And still today in the outpatient clinics, patients tell me, you're so young, but do you operate too? Next, please. So why is orthopedic surgery so unattractive for women? Next. Of course, I think that the first point is because of orthopedic exposure. In Italy, I planned just 5 days in orthopedic unit for each student. The majority of women medical students said that sports involvement influences their decision to choose to specialize in orthopedic surgery, especially after rotating in our clinic. And in Verona, for that, we accept students in clinics out of the ordinary practice that they come in the operating room to see our surgery. Next, please. The second point is the orthopedic surgeon reputation. Having a great physical strength and being very athletic. Next, I'm just 1.60 meters and I'm not a really gorilla. And colleagues are thinking about us that we are mentally limited on only our area of competence and knowing nothing but bones. Next. So there are myths to dispel. Strength is not necessary since the advent of anesthesia and better tools. There are subspecialties that require a lot of precision, and to do the best for patients, we need to consider on all aspects that include other disciplines. Next. Third point is the lack of female mentors. The female medical student can't find the role models of the same sex, and have a female mentor is very important for women because they need a way to go. So it's very important to have women as faculty. In my experience, my thesis supervisor was a woman. Next. So to improve this aspect, several associations reserved for female surgeons have been created to solve the various problems in the profession and give a positive boost to the woman that wants to be surgeons. Next. Another point of view is the balance in between work and life. Historically, in Italy, a woman has the role of raising a family and maintaining a household. In contraposition, orthopedic surgery has very busy schedule, and this is against choosing orthopedics. But remember that orthopedics gives a lot of satisfaction and is really funny, and elective surgery ensures a good profit. Next. 45% of Italian women surgeons do have children, but the number of this was limited in 53% of cases by professional reasons. And this is me, I have just one daughter. 55% believe that having children has reduced their career path. And in Italy, maternity is replaced only in 1/3 of cases, which is why half of the surgeons return to work within 3 months from delivery and without having adequate infrastructure available. Next. So how to deal with this problem? The European Working Time Directive from 2003 helped, that gave people the opportunity to take care of themselves and their family. Of course, it's important to have company nursery and spaces dedicated at work just for women, changing rooms, lockers that we have in Verona. Next. And then there is the competitiveness. Women in orthopedics are often held to a higher standard because when there are only 1 or 2 women in a program, each woman is seen as representative for her entire sex. So I'm the first vice president in the Italian Society of Foot and Ankle Surgery. I will be the first president in 1 year. And sometimes women perceive that the best opportunities are provided to men. Next. Half of the women surgeons believe that they have been discriminated against during their training or profession because of their gender, and consider being a woman an obstacle to career progression. So in Verona, this is the situation. We have 12 female residents out of 79, so this is 15%, 2 consultants out of 22, and just few associated full professor women in Italy in orthopedics. Next. So why is it important to attract both sexes? For any specialty to progress or discover new technologies, it is imperative that it attracts brilliant minds, be it a man or a woman. The hope for any specialty is to snag the best and the brightest. Hence, it becomes important that women genuinely interested in pursuing orthopedics should not be discouraged. Efforts must be taken to eliminate unintended barriers, and at the same time, diversity in caregiving and changes in perspectives are ultimately beneficial to patients in general. I want to close my presentation saying next what Rita Levi-Montalcini said, that the women who changed the world never needed to show anything other than their intelligence.